Meditation. It is something many of us have either tried out for yourselves or know of someone who has. But while it has only become more of a mainstream thing recently, the practice of meditation is a very ancient one, stretching all the way back to early religions. And one of the main reasons for that was that meditation was often used as a religious practice, something to help attune a person to their God and, in the process, improve their soul. But of course, this makes perfect sense when you think about it. Given its introspective nature, the practice meshes perfectly with what many belief systems will ask of their followers, that being, the ability to look inward and take stock of their moral center. In fact, this was exactly how the likes of religions such as Jainism, Sikhism, Hinduism, and Buddhism used meditation, allowing their followers the chance to delve into the self rather than the world around them. By doing this, they could work towards achieving serenity, a state which would allow them to see more clearly what was important in the world and what they should be focusing their goals on. In Sikhism, the idea of controlling one's breathing through careful meditation would play a crucial role in believers being able to communicate with their God as, in this faith, it is understood that there are 10 gateways to the soul, gateways which include the nostrils and mouth. So, by having stronger control of breathing and meditation, the result would lead to a faster journey towards enlightenment. And it should come as no surprise that, given how successful a practice this was within early Eastern religions, it would not be long before meditation would spread out across the world in various forms, integrating itself with the likes of Islam and Taoism, as well as more Western belief systems such as Judaism and Christianity. Yes, you may think of meditation as something primarily associated with the East, but it is a key part of these latter faiths too. What is prayer if not a moment of solitude shared between the individual and their God as they close themselves away from the world for a few minutes and look inward towards their soul? Of course, meditation can be used for more than just communication with a higher power, and soon more secular groups would begin to realize this too when, understanding that spiritual enlightenment could come in many forms, they will begin to take it up increasingly. This brings us to the modern day. While meditation is still a commonly used practice in most systems of faith, whether it be in the form of silent prayer, self-inflicted isolation, or something else entirely, it was not until the rise of New Age culture in the 1960s and 70s that meditation would infiltrate the larger culture. And that has led us to the point where, now today, it does not matter what your belief system is, anyone can enjoy it as benefits. Yes, we can thank the hippie movement for helping to introduce many in the mainstream to the power that meditation can have. But given that much of what they were fighting for was a new way of life, one moving away from the crass commercialism which had become the normal way of operating, this makes perfect sense. So, by now, with a brief understanding of both the origins and the history of meditation under your belt, you are thinking, that is fine, but how do I go about practicing it myself? Well, as it turns out, though also not as simple as you might think at first because, with the modern world constantly flooding us with sensory input at every turn, it can be quite hard to retrain your brain to shut everything out and just be quiet for a while. We all know how this feels, a TV blaring in one ear, the sounds of traffic from the street outside in the other, all while a smartphone is constantly vying for your attention and a million tasks are piling up on your to-do list. We are so used to the never-ending noise at this point that it can be hard to even wrap our head around the idea of the noise not being there anymore. Have you, for example, ever been camping in the wilderness and had that sudden realization of the utter silence and emptiness of nature once the sun drops and you are out there alone? It can be overwhelming and, quite frankly, intimidating. The reality is, this is the way things were for a long, long time, most of human history in fact. It is only in a short space of time that the idea of having this kind of quiet has become so foreign to us. And this unsurprisingly, has contributed towards an epidemic of higher stress levels, anxiety disorders, and general mental health disorder increases over the last few decades, something which only is getting worse at an exponential rate. It does not matter which generation you are from, it hits everyone just as hard, even if we do not always realize it. If you are of an older generation, for example, the struggle of trying to keep up with the new world and all its increasingly complex technology can be a chore that few look forward to. On top of this, work, home life, and keeping a social life often feeling overwhelming, it really can feel like there is never a spare second for yourself in between catching up on paperwork, getting the kids ready for school, and making sure the bills are paid on time. Simultaneously, if you are part of a younger demographic, You might find yourself feeling constantly burned out because of worry over keeping your grades at school, dealing with a love life, or simply trying to navigate the scary adult world around you. This certainly is not helped by social media, a recent human invention which has already become ubiquitous and has over the last couple of decades done a lot more harm than good for the youth of today. Sure, meditation does have some benefits, but when you consider the fact that young people are so easily connected to things like Twitter and Instagram, often getting notifications on a minute-by-minute basis, it is easy to see how this can affect their ability to concentrate and clear their mind of all the chatter of the world. This has contributed towards what many researchers have thought the most anxiety-ridden generation of humanity yet, one which has been characterized by self-confidence and mental health issues, something worsened by the fact that all they are ever seeing every time they go online are idealized versions of their peers' lives, making them feel small and worthless by comparison. So, if any of this sounds familiar to your experience and you are someone who has already been looking for a way to help yourself unwind and find more spiritual peace in a world, meditation might just be the best course of action. But of course, even if you are intrigued, you might be worried that it is going to be too hard to get started. You just do not have time, with all your other obligations, that is. And even if you can carve out some, you just cannot seem to stop your mind from racing. Well, if this sounds familiar, you should not let it get you down because, while it can be difficult to retrain your brain at first, once you get over that first hurdle, you will quickly find yourself noticing a whole host of benefits such as reduced stress, enhanced blood flow, increased levels of oxygen, deeper sleep. It has been cited for satisfactory results with COVID-19 patient and better ability to concentrate. From there, if all goes well, you should be able to continue progressing at a faster rate. And it is not as if you will need to distribute a whole lot of time to this either. We know that in this modern fast-paced world, everyone's time is constantly being filled up with important things like work, family, or amazingly simple household chores, and this is in many ways why something like meditation is even more vital because, with everything around us telling us to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour, sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves is just to stop for 10-20 minutes. Yes, 10-20 minutes, that is all. Now that said, if you can commit more time than this, then all the better. But really, when you are starting out, a little can go a long way, and it may even be recommended to try it out in short bursts during those early sessions. So how you do it, I can hear you all asking. Well, the answer to that is whatever way works best for you. There is no fixed meditative practice that works best for everyone. It really depends on which one you as an individual respond to. The main thing to remember is that meditation must be something which allows you to switch off from the world for a while. So, with that in mind, get away from anywhere that is going to allow you to be distracted. Do not have your phone or your computer at hand, unless you are using it for a guided meditation, that is, but more about that in a moment. On top of this, if possible, choose a quiet space in your home where you know you will not be disturbed by friends or family. And try to make sure that any sounds coming from outside are shut out or at least dampened enough to where they will not bother you. After that, it could be a case of doing some yoga, a practice which many find also doubles up as an excellent form of physical exercise. If you do not feel quite limber enough to try that though, it could be as simple as sitting back and listening to some binaural beats or solfeggio frequencies music, all while you try your best to empty your mind. So, if music is not your thing, the religious among you might also enjoy taking the opportunity to have a moment of quiet and contemplative prayer. Each of these are equally valid techniques, of course, but if you want to go with what the majority is taking part in today, then you might want to venture into the world of mindfulness, a type of meditation in which the focus is on being intensely aware of what you are sensing and feeling in the moment, without interpretation or judgment. This can often be instigated through use of guided meditation sessions, either in person or via recording that will feature the voice of someone gently taking you through the experience of letting your mind run clear, all while you take stock of anything and everything which passes through it from there. This method seems to have found a lot of success for people who suffer from chronic pain. To be more direct, the power of thought initiates the action that allows your mind to focus. This helps to pinpoint ways that the sensation can be lessened. Guided meditation can also appear to work wonders for people suffering from elevated levels of anxiety. Research suggests just becoming more aware of the feeling, where it happens in the body, and what make it worse, can go a long way towards helping individuals learn what it is that is stressing them out so much and what they can best do to deal with it. So, If all this is something that interests you, there are a variety of guided meditation sessions which can be found for free on YouTube and my YouTube channel Expansion of Consciousness, as well as some excellent subscription services like Headspace which go into more specific styles of sessions. Whichever one you decide to go for though, the key things they will all tell you will be the same. Focus on your breathing, repeat a mantra to keep your mind focused, and just try to ensure your mind stays as clear as possible. The purpose of the breathing is that, once again, becoming aware of things like how many breaths you are taking or how deep your breaths are can go a long way towards calming you down. So, if you focus on controlling this for long enough then, the idea is that you will start to do so subconsciously even when you are in your daily life. As far as mantras are concerned, well, they have long been used to try and keep people's minds centered during meditation sessions, stopping them from veering too far away as unwanted and intrusive thoughts start to seep back in. It is something we all are familiar with doing, and something which, if used properly, it can really make the process a whole lot easier. That said, even with a mantra, keeping your mind clear can be exceedingly difficult at first, and if you are struggling with this, you should not get too disheartened because, as any good meditation coach will tell you, it is natural for your mind to start wandering at certain points. It is just part of the way our brains work, especially as we've all become so conditioned to hearing that constant noise over the years. So, when this does happen then, the best thing to do is to recognize what those thoughts are, acknowledge their presence, then let them float off again as you try to clear your mind once more. Now you may find that, initially, you are only able to last a few seconds before stray thoughts begin appearing, but, as you carry on, you should be able to keep your head clear for longer periods of time, something which will help you get the most out of your meditation sessions. In fact, research suggests that the overall health benefits of meditation can be huge, not just psychologically, but physically too. It has been well documented that the practice can help those who are suffering from anxiety, depression, or any other number of mood disorders, especially when they are going through a stressful period such as a job interview, school exam, or breakup. It can be equally as vital in helping those who suffer from insomnia, bowel disorders, or even, as I mentioned before, chronic pain. And part of the reason for this is that many of these conditions can be worsened by stress, something which has become increasingly clear as the years have gone on and medical research has gradually understood that the mind, body, and soul are not three separate states, but equal parts of us which remain carefully and intrinsically interlinked. In fact, a 2014 review from the U.S. National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health would find that the practice of mindful meditation over a 2 to 6 month period can have huge positive effects on those suffering from both emotional anxiety and physical pain, with it reducing each. As well as this, a similar 2017 report carried out by the American Heart Association suggested that the practice could reduce the risk of things like cardiovascular diseases and migraines, although they wanted to produce more research on the topic before making any more definitive statements. Other physiological evidence put forward appeared to show that, according to MRI and EEG scans that were carried out on several patients who were engaged in meditative practices, there is ample evidence to suggest meditation can lower both heart rate and oxygen consumption, something brought about by the more controlled breathing patterns someone will be undergoing at this point. This, in turn, can also lead to less stress hormones being released into the body, lowered blood pressure, and a reduced response from the body's sympathetic nervous system. And over a period, that will have longer-term effects as the body starts to adapt to these changing patterns. This is amazing stuff. It has even been shown that more advanced practitioners can slow their alpha brain waves, allowing for a calmer manner in daily life and much better sleep patterns at night. So, if you are one of the many people who find themselves being kept up at night by the stresses of the day or have a history of heart disease in your family and are worried about your future, something as simple as 10 minutes of meditation a day might be the best thing for you to start you heading off in a new direction of better mental, physical, and spiritual health. On top of that, mindfulness has also found some degree of success over the last decades in being used to help drug addicts get clean. A large part of addiction can be the psychological aspect, with the brain's inability to let go stopping the person in question from moving on with their life. Many studies from rehabilitation services have suggested that training yourself to have more control over your mind through meditation can be an amazingly effective way of getting over an addiction and becoming clean once more. I would like to make clear that this is still a new field medically speaking. Much of the research that has been done still is incomplete. So, what I would suggest is doing a little research of your own into what form of meditative practice may suit your own circumstances the best. I say that because meditation is more of a collective of different practices than you might first think. Of course, I have already mentioned things like yoga, mindfulness, or prayer, but it goes far deeper than this, as there are a variety of other offshoots that have become popular in recent years, such as Transcendental Meditation, TM, a practice which has become better known after finding itself being championed by the likes of avant-garde filmmaker David Lynch. TM, which may feel slightly more advanced, focuses on the person in question spending 15 to 20 minutes at a time meditating in silence, quietly repeating a mantra to themselves. Given its favor with David Lynch, it is no surprise then that it has become a hit within the creative community, with other celebrities such as comedians Andy Kaufman and Jerry Seinfeld, singer Katy Perry, and actor Susan Sarandon being avid followers of the practice. Within the metaphysics community, many top thought leaders use TM. I use TM to quieten my mind so that I can access information. That is why transcendental meditation has become so strongly associated with increased levels of creativity and connection amongst those who practice it, with many believing that it allows for them to delve deeper into their subconscious than they would otherwise be able to, helping them to draw from their own wellspring of creativity. So, if you are an artist struggling with a creative block, transcendental meditation might just be the thing for you. If, however, you are just looking to have a more relaxed state of mind, you do not need to go this far. As we have said already, there are excellent mindfulness services out there such as Headspace, which have seen a huge rise in popularity over the COVID-19 pandemic, a period when, while many of us were stuck at home without access to our friends or family and a lot of people were losing loved ones to the virus, there was a spike in mental health problems. As well as this, with places like gyms being closed to the public during much of the last couple of years, it made it a lot harder for several of us to stay in good physical shape, especially when the motivation could so often be lacking. That is why, in the desire to find help getting through challenging times, many turn to things like mindfulness to help clear their heads of all the clutter and keep themselves on an even keel mentally, all while using the benefits to their physical health that come along with TM. Over the course of the pandemic, not only have we as individuals had to step back and take notice of things, but the business world has had to do the same, working on ways to make their staff feel more at ease about coming into the workplace. One of the ways that this has been done is by offering staff the opportunity to meditate in the workplace, often through special guided classes or just sectioned off areas of the building where people can go to be at peace for a while. Now, to be fair, some who were more ahead of the game on this, such as Google and General Mills, have been offering such a service to their staff since the mid-2000s, with each of these finding that it has helped to reduce their employees' stress levels and allowed them to perform better at work. As time goes on and the world returns to its pre-2020 state, increased employers are being forced to recognize the benefits of such practices for their staff. But, while we have talked a lot about the positives of meditation today, we would not be honest if we did not mention that, in certain circumstances, depending on the individual person, meditation may not be the best course of action for you. Now, this is not to scare anyone off, of course, as, for most people, the practice can yield an untold number of satisfactory results and can, in some cases, even save people's lives with the physical health improvements it can offer. That said, with a select few, it can hinder them. And this may be the case with someone who has undergone particularly traumatic experiences earlier on in life, as, if left to delve into their own psyche through meditation without the careful guidance of another, they may find that these painful memories as dredged up, often causing further trauma in the process. Of course, that is not to say that if you have undergone a trauma then meditation cannot work for you. Just that if you do fall under this grouping, it may be better to work alongside someone else more experienced in the practice, at least initially, so they can guide you through the process and keep a watch over you in case things get to be much. It is the same logic as a bodybuilder might use. After all, no one would lift a heavy weight without having someone else there to spot them. So if you are focusing on strengthening your mind, then you should really have someone else there to spot you to in those cases. I hope you found this interesting and useful. Meditation continues to be the backbone of all that I do, and it can help catapult you to whatever level you want. Remember, being awake is just the beginning.